Hello friends, welcome to Science Talk. I am your host Jim Massa. And I want to discuss with you in this video segment um, a report that appeared in the journal Sustainability, and basically it warned that humans really need to radically change our food habits. Now, I've discussed this with you before in other and prior video segments, so I encourage you to go check those out. But let's see what this report is stating. So, agricultural practices are a contributor to global warming. So the question now becomes, can the world eat well but keep temperatures cooler? Well, to do so, radical food changes are necessary. To contain global temperatures to no more than 2 degrees C above the average for most of human history will require humanity to change its diet, contain its appetite, i.e. eat less, and reform the entire system of food production and distribution. So as I mentioned, this study was published in the journal Sustainability. The researchers report that they looked at 180 studies and analyses of global agriculture and food systems, and most closely at the world's smallholders and markets that contain as many as 2.5 billion people, mostly in the developing world. Small farmers account for about 1/3 of global agriculture's greenhouse gas emissions. But these include many people that are also most vulnerable to to all the changes that climate change is bringing. This in turn can put those harvests on a global scale. I have done other video segments where I have mentioned that as the planet warms, crop yields are decreasing and the nutritional quality of the plants is decreasing. So this whole notion, oh, warmer planet means better for plants and so on, is just total bullshit. Plants, like other organisms, have a preferred temperature range, and it's getting too hot for the plants to do well. They will because they lose too much water vapor out the stomata, and it's just too warm for them. They're maybe not able to absorb the nutrients through their root systems and so on. A whole bunch of factors involved. So agriculture, together with forestry and changes in land use, accounts for 1/4 of all the CO2, methane, and oxides of nitrogen that are the principal components of global warming, i.e. the greenhouse gases. However, on its own, the action of growing grain, fruit, and vegetables or feeding grazing animals accounts for no more than 12% of global warming, but 1/3 of all the food that leaves the farm gate is wasted. So you lose that. But don't forget, in some places, especially we have industrial agriculture, they're using what? Heavy machinery. What do the heavy machinery run on? Yeah, fossil fuels. So basically, no more than 12% of global warming, but 1/3 of all the food is wasted. That's enough to provide 8% of the world's emission, and just 1/4 of the waste could be saved. That would be enough to feed 870 million people for a year. Let's think about that. If you can just save just 1/4 of what is wasted, that'd be enough to feed 870 million people for a year. So that is no small amount of stuff being wasted. And quite frankly, that's criminal. Better practices and procedures need to be implemented to not waste that material and feed people. Come on. The researchers see reduction in food loss as a big opportunity that will benefit farmers and consumers, as well as reducing emissions. I believe that comes under the category of duh. A more challenging problem is to change global appetites. Meat and dairy business accounts for about 18% of all human-triggered emissions, counting the clearance of forests and the impact of changes in the way the land is used to feed the demand for meat, milk, butter, cheeses, etc. A shift to plant-based diets would save on land and water and deliver more and healthier meals and permit more forest restoration. This is Ecology 101, trophic level transfers. If all I have to do is just have one level, crops to humans, I can get a lot more yield to feed more people than if I have to go from crops to animals, then to people. Because by the time you get to people going through animals, such as cattle, pigs, pork, what have you, there's a lot of energy loss in that step there. You lose energy at each trophic transfer, which is why you only see about 3, maybe 4 trophic levels. There's a lot of energy loss. Anywhere of up to 90% of all available energy is lost before it goes to the next trophic level. So if I set aside 1,000 acres, say 10,000 acres, whatever it is, if I set aside a chunk of land and I grow rice, right, I can get a lot more biomass to feed a lot more people than if I use that land to try and raise cattle. I get more kilograms for just raising the rice than I would from raising the cattle. Now, Ana Maria Lobo Guerrero of the Climate Change Agriculture and Food Security Program of CGIAR, its acronym is Consultative Group for International Agricultural Research. She was also the principal investigator, so she led the study. She states that if you think about the 2-degree increase, efforts need to go beyond the agricultural sector. Well, we're already at 1.4 degrees now. I have a report I'm preparing about how most people are conceding that we're not going to keep it to 1.5. We're going to blow past that, which I've been saying that for a long time. So that's something that not necessarily feels good to be vindicated on, but I've been vindicated on. So now the trick is, do we keep it to under 2 degrees? So 1.5, forget about it. That's not happening. So Dr. Lobo Guerrero continues saying, this means reducing emissions by stopping deforestation, decreasing food loss and waste, reducing supply chain emissions, and rethinking human diets if we really want to get on track to that target. The supply chain emission, that's a reference to the trophic level transfers. The researchers acknowledge that what they propose will constrain farm choices and increase costs, but a second study published in the journal Nature Communications reports that the health benefits of immediate, dramatic cuts in CO2 emissions will save lives, improve human health, and offset the immediate cost of containing planetary heating and adapting to the climate crisis. The global health benefits from climate policy could reach trillions with a T, of dollars annually, but will importantly depend on the air quality policies that nations adopt independently of climate change. Mark Bidolfson of the University of Vermont, one of the authors of the second study, the one in Nature Communication, said, we show the climate conservation doesn't need to be about the current generation investing in the future, for the future. By making smart investments in climate action, we can save lives now through improved air quality and health. So basically, the bottom line is grow more plants, raise less cattle, reduce milk and cheese and other dairy products, and you might have a shot. You won't have to clear as much land, which means clearing less trees, keep more CO2 in the ground, not going back into the atmosphere. You get more bang for the bucks. An acre will provide more kilograms per person than raising cattle, if you raise crops, etc. So basically, humans probably need to start going more vegetarian, more vegan in their dietary habits. There you have it. Thank you for your time.